Hello, guys. Welcome to the Girl House and our first episode of We Are Just Hairdressers.
Just dumb hairdressers.
Just dummies. And we are live from the Curl House in Lawton, Oklahoma. I'm Ashley, and our co-host today is
Rissa Tinker. Hello, everybody.
also known as Rissa Watson.
You might know me a little better by that name. We'll get into that here in just a moment.
So something cool about Rissa that most people don't know,
Drum roll.
and a fun fact would be,
Back in 2018, I competed on American Idol. It was a wonderful experience. I made it to the top 50 out of 400,000 contestants. It was truly an incredible experience.
what grade were you in?
I believe that was my junior year. Yep.
Junior year. Where were you going to school at?
I was in Apache, Oklahoma, very small town.
How did your school and small town and community act to that?
I had, if I'm being honest, I had quite a mix of reactions. At first, it was incredible. It was like rallying the troops. Everybody came out to support. So what a lot of people don't realize is when you try and go and compete on these big shows, how much you're paying out of pocket and how many things that they throw on you last minute. So originally, my first initial audition was in Tulsa, and that required 3 auditions just in that one day. But after that, we were just kind of waiting to hear back from them. They said that they would be in contact with us in about 3 or 4 weeks to let me know if I made it to the next round and where I would need to be to do so. It was 4 days when they contacted us back, and they said, "You made it to the next round. Can you be in New Orleans in 4 days flat?"
So you're talking 4 days after your audition date?
Yes. Yep. 4 days after I left Tulsa. Whenever we thought we'd have a couple weeks to prepare to even potentially be making it into the next round, they contacted us in less than a week and then said we had 4 days to make it to New Orleans. And it wasn't one of those like, if you can, we can figure out other options. No, the only way that I was going to be able to continue to compete was if I made it there in 4 days flat. Which my mom, we own our own business. And so things like that, it's not easy to just be able to pull several plane tickets because, that's my family. I couldn't just go by myself. I have my mom, my dad, my little brother. And so we ended up driving across, but we would not have been able to do that if it wasn't for my town. Everybody came together. We hosted a huge spaghetti dinner. And the town really came out to support. I would not have been able to continue if they didn't do that. We would not have had the funds to do so.
So the town of Apache created a fundraiser
Yep.
to help support you in your journey to New Orleans?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So what did New Orleans look like once you got there?
It was pretty hectic. The minute that we stepped out, which thank goodness. So my godfather, if you ever met him, he's absolutely terrifying. He's super tall, looks like, he'd be he'd protect the president or something. So we walk out on the street and immediately there's the people that are trying to flag you down and like scam you. And my best friend at the time, my husband now, was with us. I remember the first time we walked out, this guy stopped him and was trying to clean his boots, and my husband didn't know what to do. And him and this dude and my godfather almost ended up getting in a fight because then he was trying to get my husband to pay him for cleaning his boots when he didn't ask for it. So that was like really sketchy. Never had seen anything like that in my entire life.
Well, there's probably not shoe shiners in Apache, Oklahoma.
No, there's not just regular shoe shiners. Absolutely not. So it was really hectic. That was my first time, honestly, ever coming face to face with like massive amounts of drug addiction, seeing people who are homeless on the streets. It was a real eye opener for me.
So how many contestants were there trying out that day?
So
this was the second audition, correct?
Essentially, they would have called it the second round of auditions, but really that first audition that I did was in person, and then I did 2 video auditions after that. And then this time around, there was 3 auditions. So we auditioned for producers of ABC, and then we went through 2 rounds of auditioning for producers of American Idol. We went through, I want to say it was 6 or 7 total auditions before I ever even got to meet the judges.
So was your audition in Louisiana the audition that we see on TV?
No. That was my second time actually going to New Orleans. They really expect you to be able to drop everything at, the drop of a hat to be there and show up for them. However, the second round of New Orleans, for me to get there, for the actual judges, they did pay for us to get there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, thankfully.
So that probably took a little bit of heat off.
Yes,
of everybody.
absolutely.
How many days? So I'm just trying to track the timeline here. So we had 8 days after the first American Idol audition in Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
So how many days after that second Louisiana tryout were you seeing the judges?
It honestly, after that one, I feel like there was a few months. I went and auditioned. I want to say it was around October, November, somewhere around there. And then whenever I actually ended up flying to Hollywood, that was in January.
So Hollywood is the one where you go, what we see on TV.
Yes.
Okay. What was that experience like? What were you feeling? What were you thinking? How were you preparing?
Truthfully, it was one of those things that it was terrifying because I thought I was being set up for a failure. It was like one thing after another. So the airplane lost my entire luggage. I had to go compete on national TV with only one outfit that I wore and no makeup. I had to go, which thankfully American Idol had given us $100 to try and compensate. And so that wasn't even enough to go buy another outfit, but that was just enough because everything is so expensive, over there. And the only thing that was available to us was like drugstores. So I had to go buy drugstore makeup, and that was what I wore on national television.
So did they
it
not?
Shows.
So did they not have makeup artists or anything for
No.
you guys to go on TV?
No, it's not. Nothing is bougie like that until you are in the live rounds.
How nerve-wracking and how nervous were you being that all those obstacles were put in front of you before the actual audition?
Not only was that nerve-wracking just in general to be experiencing that, but they exploit that. So instead of being like, how does it feel to be here? It's like, how's it feel to be here with nothing? So it really felt it was already a lot, but everything being exploited to the max, it really wore down on me, to be honest. It kind of affected my spirit and how I felt about it. But then it kind of started to change as I met people who were there in harder situations that I was. There was people that actually lived in the area and they were sleeping in their cars to be there.
Now, when you see on TV, it looks like there is just a stadium full of people there auditioning. Is it truly like that?
Yes, except the stadium is not. I feel like when you watch it on TV, it looks like it's filled with random people when really that's just other contestants and their families.
How long did you wait before you auditioned?
So for the audition for the judges,
yes,
I had to be there before 7 a.m. and I was told that my audition would be before 1 p.m. that day, and I did not audition till almost 9 o'clock that night.
Oh, wow.
Yep, and that was with no meals, no water, nothing. I was absolutely exhausted.
So you just sat in that waiting room, and were you practicing?
No.
Just waiting?
Yeah. There was maybe one or two opportunities where each person had to go step out in a hallway and practice.
Were those people practicing? Is that why there wasn't the opportunity to do that?
Yeah, I think I wish that they would have just let people play music together, genuinely, but that wasn't really a thing. There would be times where groups would start kind of playing around and just making music together, and we'd get shut down for that. It wasn't allowed. And I think it was probably because they were recording other people doing other interviews, things like that. And I don't know if it was just too chaotic in the background or what that was, but I think it would have been a better experience if they would have let us interact with each other a little bit more.
Yeah. What did they say? You come together in song?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So what a cool opportunity that would have been to be amongst a community like that.
One of my favorite moments was after the third audition in the first round in New Orleans. There is this group of individuals who were all worship singers. There was 15, and we all just got together in a circle and we just started singing worship songs, and it was you could just feel the room change. It was just beautiful. Everybody stopped and was just captivated in the moment, and I wish that there was more moments like that.
Yeah, you've talked to me a little bit about how you love worship music and would love to be a part of that. So that's do you think that's where that started?
At the time, I think was growing up, I had always really wanted to be on the stage and doing worship music. I grew up in church. I have kind of shifted my view in what I want to do and what I want to create now. I like to relate to an entire genre of people, not just like necessarily one group. And I think that there's music that I can make where I can reach all platforms and not just a specific group, if that makes sense. So I have kind of shifted gears in that sense. But I do love, that was truly the moment where I was like, yes, music does bring people together, and that really shows. So that was a really beautiful, eye-opening moment for me.
So set the stage. You're what are you doing? Are you waiting outside the door right before the door opens? You know, because they give us this whole, they set this whole picture up on TV, like the immense amount of anticipation that you're going through before you walk through that door. Tell me everything. Yeah, tell me what that looks like.
Everything, first of all, is, I hate to say staged and planned. So like you have to stand at the beginning of a hallway and you sit there and wait for your cue to walk. And I remember I got in trouble because I wasn't walking fast enough. the guy was yelling. He's like, come on. He's like, moving his hands at me. So I had to, they're like, okay, 1, 2, 3, walk. And then I just have to walk down this hallway. And then I have to stand there and wait for 15 more minutes for the next 3 auditions to go, and then I'm sitting there waiting on the outside, listening to all this go down. There are things that are staged and planned out for you and things that are staged and planned out against you. So for example, as far as that goes, we're supposed to have all of our songs that we want to play and that we plan on performing planned out weeks, months in advance. So my audition that I had planned on doing for the judges, I was going to sing House of the Rising Sun. And we were on our way there. The night before, it was like 11:30 at night. We were supposed to get to the hotel around 12. And this was the night before I was supposed to be there before 7 a.m. And it was about 12 o'clock. And my producer had reached out to me. And she was like, by the way, we reviewed your song and we decided that's not what we want you to do anymore. Here's this list. They sent me about probably 30 to 50 songs. And she said, pick one. That's what you're going to perform one of these tomorrow. So the song that you see me playing on television was I Learned the Night Before, and I had played it maybe a total of 5 times before I played it for the judges.
Now, you played the guitar during your audition, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it was an Adele song, correct?
Yep. When we were young, by Adele.
So you had to change all of this, learn a whole new song on your guitar, all in a matter of how many hours?
Not even 8. Not even 8 hours. Like, genuinely, I got there at the hotel around 12 o'clock that night. We got our stuff into our room, and I got my guitar immediately and went to the stairwell. I'm also one of those people, I feel like I can overthink things. And so really, I tried to learn the chords, and I already knew the song. I just didn't know how to play it and sing it together. And so I genuinely played it maybe 4 or 5 times in the stairwell that night, and maybe 2 or 3 times the next day before I played it for the judges. So not much at all.
Wow.
Yeah. And it kind of showed in the sense of whenever I was actually performing for the judges, I had known how to play it, but I had decided to kind of simplify the guitar a little bit more and focus more on my voice, because I just didn't want to get wrapped up in trying to do both, because at the end of the day, I am a musician, but I was there to sing. Right,
and you've got the nerves going, and they've already changed your song, and you're uncomfortable with it. I remember watching your audition, and Luke saying something about ditch the guitar or something.
Yeah, and what they didn't even show is that it was actually Katy Perry that said that first.
It was Katy that said that.
Yeah, and then Luke was just kind of agreeing with her in a much more nice way.
But then she comes back and she says, why not, or something. Do you remember that?
There's pieces that I've kind of forgotten, but I think that's because they don't really pertain to who I am anymore.
Do you go back and watch that any?
No.
No?
No.
Why?
I'm one of those people that I hate the way I sound, but also looking back to how I was then, I have grown tremendously. I sound nothing like I did back then. Honestly, I'm kind of like, man, what was I doing?
Well, you sounded amazing on there.
Thank you.
And they asked you to come back a second season, right?
They did. I didn't do it, but that was because I had just started working. I started my career here at the Haus. I was just building my clientele, and I just felt like if I was to drop what I was doing, I could potentially be taking more steps backwards than forwards. I didn't know if it would be one of those things where I'd be walking into a trap, like, here she is, she's back again. Is she going to fail? And then they make me fail because they kind of pick and choose who they want to succeed. Or, you know, and I didn't want to step away from everything that I was working so hard to create here at home. I'd been working diligently for months with you guys, and I was just starting to see the results, and I didn't want to walk away from that as soon as it was kind of starting to come together for me.
Yeah, your mom had reached out. Did I ever tell you that your mom had reached out to me?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, your mom had reached out to me and told me and asked me to talk with you about the second time of them wanting you to come back on the show, and basically just trying to talk you into it. And I remember you and I sit down and I'm asking you, hey, why do you, did American Idol get a hold of you? And you had said yes. And I said, why do you not want to go back on there? And I remember your response, and it was extremely beautiful. But turning back to feeling like maybe it's set up, or would you say rigged, or more?
I do feel like some things are rigged. I really do. Especially having communications with contestants who have been on seasons after me. They've changed a lot of things. So like one thing that I felt really, really played against me. Whenever I was on American Idol, I was 17, so I was a minor. And anybody who, if you are still in school, which I love that they do this, they're partnered with Disney, and Disney takes their education really seriously. So if you're still in school, whenever you're participating on the show, they still make you do at least 4 to 6 hours of schooling a day. However, me being from a super small school can kind of get away with anything. My principal was amazing. And instead of sending me with all this trillions of book work to do while I was doing that, he said that either way he looked at it, whether I won, I lost, whatever happened, I was doing something to continue and better my future. And so he didn't want that to be counted against me. And so he put it down as I was like job shadowing. I don't know if he can, actually, I don't know if that was the correct thing to do there, but I am grateful for that. However, I still had to sit in that room for 4 to 6 hours a day, and all I did was doodle on a piece of paper. But so for like group rounds, while I was the only minor in my group, so they were getting to run around and play music and practice, do their stage rehearsals and stuff all day long. I was stuck in that room and I didn't get to play with them. There was one point where they got to come in and we had 2 minutes to go over our group song. And that was like just in the back corner with everybody else in the room. And that was the only rehearsals that we had before we went on stage that day.
So you got 2 minutes worth of rehearsal?
Yep.
With your group?
Yep. And that was because I was a minor and I had to sit in that room all day.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And so did you get past the group rounds? I can't remember.
That was where I actually got cut off.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So was it your group that didn't make it?
No, my group had made it. I truly believe that it was the fact that I didn't get to perform with them all day long like they were doing with each other. It was a song that I had no idea what it was. But also, going into it now, I would do things very differently. If I was to do it again, whenever I was going the first time, I gave 100% of the time. So during the little rehearsals that we were getting, I was belting any chance that I get. I wasn't doing things very softly, and so I had actually ended up kind of getting a little bit. I think it was also a lot of the exhaustion from the way they played everything out. I ended up getting kind of sick. And I lost my voice a little bit, and then and I just don't think having all the confidence that I needed because I wasn't able to practice with my group is what actually got me kicked off the show.
So would you say that if somebody was listening to this right now and they were thinking about trying out for American Idol and, they went to the next round, you would say preserve your voice?
Yes, preserve your voice. Try hard, practice, but preserve your voice. Don't give it your all 100% of the time, because you could be going all day long and thinking that you're going to have a night's sleep, but then you get back to the hotel at like 11 that night, and then they say, all right, guys, you have an hour. Go up to your rooms, refresh, meet back down here by 12, and we're starting the next round. So at one point in time, there's about 72 hours where I had maybe about 5 hours of sleep.
Wow. But yet you had to sit in a room and do schoolwork for 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where I really feel like they do not set you up for success in that way. But trying to approach it from an open-minded view, there's a lot of people there, a lot of really, really talented people. And so I think that they also do these things to weed out the people who are weak, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Would you be interested in mentoring somebody that was a contestant on American
Absolutely,
Idol?
yeah.
I think that would be a really neat experience, being that you've already went through the whole process. Yeah. So circling back to you saying that you've grown so much, you don't even sound the same way. Mm-hmm. If American Idol called right now, would you go?
Probably, if I'm being honest. And that's just kind of like I don't want to live the rest of my life thinking, what if?
Right.
I'm a completely different artist now than I was then, and I've grown exponentially, and I could say that I'm tremendously better than I was then. So I can only wonder how far and how well I would do now.
What type of music would we see out of you?
Yes.
Yes.
I love all music, to be honest. Anything from folk, bluegrass to like rock. And even I find that I like to take things and kind of marry them together. So something that might be a super hard rock song, I like to take that and change it and make it my own, and add a unique twist to it.
What are you listening to currently right now? What's your favorite song?
Ooh, Middle of Love by Jake Wesley Rogers.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, it's my favorite.
I'm going to listen to it now.
Yep, it's good.
Cool. Okay, Rissa. So thank you so much for sharing your experience and journey on American Idol.
Absolutely. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Absolutely. What is your favorite hair care tip currently?
So it's actually a new one that I've learned recently, this summer. Going into pool care and things like that. The chemicals that are in pools is actually a chemical accelerant for bleach. And so I've started requesting that all of my guests do not swim in their pools during the summer a week before their appointment, or at least not to get their hair wet.
Right, and leaving that pool water on the hair can also be a very alkaline process, and that's what bleach is. It's an alkaline process. So essentially, you're chemically treating your hair as you're in the pool.
Yeah. Yep.
So us offering detoxing here is such a huge service for your hair. It's a huge service for summer, but that's why we do what we do here. One of my favorite things that I request my guests to do regarding pool care is I request that they completely get their hair wet with conditioner in it before they get in the pool, and that conditioner and water kind of acts as a buffer. And then when they get out, I request that they immediately detox their hair with our detox mask and then deep condition with the hydrating hair mask, because anytime you pull things off of the hair, we want to add the hydration back. But also, you just got out of the pool. It's going to dry your hair out. We want to add the moisture back as well. And something that I like to also add is that needs to be done immediately. I would not set and sleep in it, wait until the next day. It needs to be taken off of the hair as soon as possible.
And we also offer pool kits and things specifically tailored to pool care, especially for the young babies that have hair that's more fragile.
Some signs to look for if you think that your hair may be damaged by chlorine could be breakage. It could be that very cottony feel when your hair gets wet. Is it tangling together? Anything else you want to address?
Elasticity. I feel like, especially if you've been spending a lot of time in pools, whenever you go to brush your hair, it's like you almost have it brushed out, and then once it bounces off those ends, it's like the hair springs right back up into knots in the middle of the hair.
I think my main takeaway today is just listening to Rissa tell her story and about all the obstacles that came about, but she kept trying. She didn't give up. She just kept going. And I think that's life. I think it's life for everybody. We all get thrown things our way and obstacles, but we just keep moving. And if you can keep moving, you can get to the other side. Something
I would like to add, going back to my American Idol experience, you had asked me what was the reaction of the town and my classmates. And the answer was, at first, it was great. Everybody was super supportive. But the moment I came back, I honestly had felt the entire opposite. The people, when they see you succeed and when they see you trying to do these things for yourself, you don't always get the best reactions. So whenever I had gotten back, immediately, some of the things that people first started saying things to me, not even was like, how was your experience? It's like, oh, that's Rissa. She was on national television. Don't talk to her. She doesn't want to talk to us. She's better than us. And that couldn't have been the furthest thing from the truth, because I was still very much so myself, and I loved everybody and I wanted to be there for everybody. And so feeling like people had turned their back on me because I had tried to do something big was a real eye-opener, as well as realizing that not everybody is going to support your success.
Right. And in that moment, I think that was probably a big learning moment for you at a very young age, because I think a lot of people, you know, it takes some time to learn that, hey, you're not always going to be supported by your friends or your family, but you got to keep moving, because there's people out there that do love you and do support you and do respect what you do.
And at the end of the day, you got to do what's good for you anyways. You know what else is good for you?
Wash your damn hair when you get out of the pool. Please. I beg you to wash your damn hair.
Do it for you. Do it for us. But I don't know. Don't listen to us. We're just dumb hairstylists. What do we know?
What up, buddy?
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
We need a name for a dumbass hairdresser.
For what?
For a dumbass hairdresser.
What kind of name?
Just a name. Like, what would you call a dumbass hairdresser?
Ashley and Wallace.